In this video, we go over how to find and fix a failing key immobilizer in a 2011 RAV4.
Stop it. We're not saying that on camera.
The number one symptoms that your immobilizer might be going out in your car is that when you get inside your car and you crank your key, it just won't start. Now, the immobilizer can fail in two areas. It can fail in the key. There's a chip in here and the car is supposed to read that and it's supposed to start. Another way the immobilizer can fail is on the car side. Now, there's a bunch of systems in here that read the little chip inside this key and say, yep, this is the right key, go ahead and start. So we're gonna go over the systems you should check to make sure it is indeed an immobilizer that is keeping your car from starting, and if it is, how you should fix it. Now, for those of you who want to fast forward through us troubleshooting all the systems of the video, the number one way to see if it is indeed the immobilizer keeping your car from starting is if this red light or security light or wherever, if you have a different Toyota model, it might be on the dash, if this red light stays on or blinking or flashing in any way, shape, or form when you put your key in the ignition, then you do in fact have an immobilizer issue with your car. If you put your key in the ignition, like so, and this light turns off, or the light on the dash turns off, or whatever, you do not have an immobilizer issue with your car. Now that we got that out of the way, let's walk you through how we discovered we had an immobilizer issue with our car. Our RAV4 just wasn't starting in the morning, and I thought it was spark plugs, I thought it was the ECU, I thought it was coil packs, I thought it was a fuel pump. I replaced so many things on this car, and eventually, because of some due diligence, and this video didn't exist yet, we figured out it was the immobilizer and we went ahead and solved the problem. So for those of you who are looking to solve the immobilizer on your car, this video is for you. For those of you who just want to see how we figured it out, keep watching. We're about to go through all the systems to show you how we figured out it was indeed an issue with the immobilizer. We're going to check fuel systems, we're going to check air, and we're going to check spark. And air is a real easy check, and it seems to be okay. I don't think air is the issue for this engine not starting. So it can only leave fuel or spark. And a great way to check to see if it's one of the two is we can start checking relays and fuses. We can go down the electronic path. But a great way is pull one of the vacuum cables from the manifold, this one or this one, throw in some brake cleaner and crank the engine. And if the car starts to start, then you know it's a fuel issue. If the car still doesn't start, then it's a spark issue. Okay, that's plenty. Let's see if she cranks over. At least we know now where to start. It's not an air issue, it's not a fuel issue, it's a spark issue. All right, we replaced that plug, and I'm gonna pop off this little connector here, and we're gonna start testing some of the leads. I got my voltmeter out. Hopefully you guys can see the volts that it's reading. And real simple here, I'm gonna throw black on ground to the battery just so it just stays grounded out. Now we're gonna test the points here and see the key is on the ignition. So this looks like a ground. Here, I want you guys to see it, so that way it's gonna put it in a funny position here. So this one is the black and white wire. The volts are dropping, so it looks like that's a ground. The purple wire, I think this would be the signal wire, the firing wire, so there's nothing there. One of these should be the power wire to make sure the coil stays powered. So that's your 5-volt trigger wire or 5-volt signal wire. That's perfect. And then this should be the power wire, 13.1 volts. So I'm gonna say everything in this plug seems to be okay. The problem now is between one of these two, the ECU is not telling the plugs to fire. We're gonna dive into the OBDII port, start with the computer, then we'll start checking sensors. All right, that brings us to sort of today's sponsor, which is super weird. I'm not used to having sponsors of the video. And the creators of this Creader Elite launch diagnostics tool reached out to us 2 weeks ago and said, hey, would you like to test out one of our diagnosis tools for your channel? And at the time I said no, because we had all of our cars ran just fine, but it turns out the RAV4 stopped running. And so I'm gonna see if we can use this bad boy to figure out our problem. The way this works is you have to, when you first plug in the launch or Creader Elite It's gonna ask you to connect to your house's Wi-Fi, which is a pain in the ass, and then it's gonna ask you to register the product. If you don't get past those 2 steps, you cannot use this device, which I think is already kind of a negative. So we're gonna throw in a little bit of a review here. But once you get past those 2 steps, it asks you for your email and your phone number. It allows you to use the product. All right, so what I did was I used this machine and I did just, hey, give me a basic scan. Forget me doing it. You tell me what's going on. And it found more fault codes. It found an ABS warning, found a 4-wheel drive warning, found a tire pressure warning, which is fine. But then it also found Immobilizer and driver door motor. So I'm going to try and find what's going on with the Immobilizer. No communication in Immobilizer system. Let's see if this whole thing is an error with the Immobilizer system. And I just want to make sure that is not the reason why I'm not getting any spark, because I checked all the sensors. I checked, I cranked it. I got plenty of juice in the battery, 13.4 volts. This could be an issue here, the Immobilizer. B2796. I don't want to just jump in and start checking wires and fuses and relays. I want to go and solve the problem where the problem is. So because this thing told us there might be something wrong with the Immobilizer system, I'm going to do a live scan so you guys can see the features and benefits this thing gives you to find the problem before we jump into just checking fuses and wires. I might blur out some areas of the screen because this OBDII reader does display the VIN of the vehicle and we don't need to show that. So let's put the key in and do a scan. It's going to ask me, is it an EV or a regular Toyota or a non-EV Toyota? We're going to do non-EV. It's going to ask you if it's 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive. If this is a 4-wheel drive, no smart key, so without smart key. And then it's going to say, hey, don't unplug this while it's scanning the vehicle. That's fine. Now it's going to scan for all the modules. All right, diagnostics is done, and it gives you a little bit of a report here. So like tells you all your systems, and you can see that there's a TPMS warning on the screen there, and there is a Immobilizer warning right there. So we're going to go into the Immobilizer menu, and it's going to tell you what the code number is, unattached key code. So like that's the thing, is like the Immobilizer wasn't reading the key. So I can go to the menu and it's going to tell me, hey, the ECU really needs to read a key before it can start the car. So that's okay. And then this is really what sets this OBDII reader apart from anything I really used. It gives you every individual module of this system that we can test. I can do a special function, like I could program a key if I wanted to. If it was a 2006 or earlier Toyota, we could program a key from this thing. We can check the actuation of like the security light. I could read the data stream, and then I can clear the code. So what I'm going to do here, which will enable me to solve the problem, is I'm going to read the data stream. And the reason why I'm doing read data stream is because I want to make sure all the systems are communicating. And if we have an error in any one of these modules, then we know there's an issue giving it power. So we're going to hit OK, and it's going to read every module in this suite. And you can see everything looks okay. Normal, okay, okay, normal, okay. Sorry, my hand really kind of kills the focus here. Driver door okay on. There's nothing bad in here. In fact, there's even data streams we can look at, and I can even go for more. We can look at everything's okay, and it even gives me like the number of the transponder codes, all these things in here. So because I went and I jumped into all the modules in this suite, then I know for a fact that it has nothing to do with a fuse or a relay. If these had communication errors, then for sure we would have power problems. So really what I need to do now is I need to jump into reprogramming a key. I'll put a link for this in the video description below. I didn't think it would be this good, but realistically, this is probably the best OBDII reader I've ever used in my life. I've even used USB ones. I've used that one that you saw from Innova. A lot of things this thing can do, and truly it's impressive. So I'm going to drop a link for it down below. It has saved the day. I don't really recommend a lot of products on this channel, but for those of you who are DIYers at home and want to figure out why your car is having the problem it's having, this thing does a great job, specifically allowing you to go into each module and figure it out. We're going to go ahead and reset the Immobilizer and reset the key and get a new one programmed. Now there's a few ways to reset the Immobilizer on a Toyota. First and foremost is to take your key, put it in the ignition, and turn it to ACC and off, ACC and off, ACC and off 5 to 10 times, and that should tell the immobilizer, hey, wake up, there's a key in there, and it should read it. Another way to reset the immobilizer is to go into the OBDII reader and connect 2 pins. Now there's a ton of videos on how to do that online. I'm not going to do that right here. You'll see a bunch of flashing lights on your dash, and once that's enabled, you want those lights to flash for about 30 minutes. It'll reset everything in the car, and you should be able to reset your immobilizer there. Another way is to put the key in the door lock and lock and unlock it 10 times. That should reset the immobilizer. Now every Toyota is different, but the reason why we needed to reset the immobilizer is because we needed to make copies of the key that was failing so we can put these new ones on. And now that we got that all out of the way, we are going to go ahead and fast forward to after we reset the immobilizer and what we needed to do to reprogram a new key. Light's not blinking anymore, and I actually went and I got a module here from Tom's Key Company, and we're going to try and duplicate this key while it's still registered in the ECU, so at least we have backups, and we're going to go from there. So I'm going to walk this through. Tom's Key Company is going to give the module on how to reset or how to duplicate the factory key. Hopefully these will have fresh transponders in them, and hopefully it'll communicate to the car a little bit better than what's in there, and we can move on. So let's see if we can get this done. It's raining. The lens is a little wet, but we already programmed the master key to a new key, and it did start the car. Now we're programming a second key here just to make sure it works, and let's see if this light turns off soon. It takes about a minute for that light to turn off. It's programming right now. It should work. It worked flawlessly on that first key, so let's see if it works. Once that light turns off, I'll go ahead and try and start the car. But oh, all right, so the light just turned off. That's a new key here, and we're gonna see if the car starts. All right, okay, the car does start with these new keys, and the ultimate test is we just started the car. This is a brand new key. Let's see what happens. Light is off, car starts. So we got our new key all programmed. Car starts fine. If your Toyota RAV4 is not starting, make sure you're checking the security light before you try and start your car. If you put your key in and it's still blinking, then the car won't start. But since the security light is now off, the car should start no problem. That's gonna be it for this video. I'm super stoked on the OBDII reader that we got from launch. Super stoked on the new key programming that we got from Tom's Key Company. And if you have any questions on your RAV4 not starting, this is a V6 all-wheel drive model, drop them in the comments below. There's a million reasons why your car wouldn't start, but for us it was the immobilizer and it not picking it up on the key, and the security light was the dead giveaway. And we found that because we used the proper OBDII reader. This is probably one of the best cars I've ever owned in my life, and now that we got the keys all set and ready to go, we can drive this car for another 10 years. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.